9 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay, are we on? All right, I'm gonna call this special meeting of the Excise Board to order. Today is Tuesday, March the 18th, 2025. It is 9 a.m. and we have a full house. Roll call, Mr. Brent Town.
Present.
Mr. Reese Sellers.
Present.
And I'm Eleanor Thompson. We have 4 items on the agenda. First item, discussion and possible action regarding the minutes of February 14th, 2025.
If there's no changes, I move we accept the February 14th, 2025 special excise minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-0778. This is a request for approval of state and or federal funds for Harding Fine Arts Academy, district number G-11 for present fiscal year 2024-25 for their general fund in the amount of $1,003,467.18. This item is requested by the County Finance Department, Office of the County Clerk. Are they just getting this money?
We had put
Their
something
request,
for
this
this.
is an increase.
It's an increase.
Yeah.
Because we'd already approved money for them.
That's for everybody. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any changes?
No, I'll move that we approve item number 2 as stated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, item 3, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-807. This is a request for approval of state and or federal funds for Stanley Huckbell Charter Academy, district number E-3 for fiscal year 2024-25 for their general fund in the amount of $118,582.29. This item is requested by the County Finance Department, Office of the County Clerk.
I'd like to move approval of item number 3, resolution 2025-0807.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last item, item 4, this is discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-963. This is a cash fund appropriation for employee benefits 4010 in an amount not to exceed $300,000. We're going to appropriate funds from the Employee Benefit Supplement 991. This is contingent upon the check being deposited and approved by the Budget Board meeting scheduled on this Thursday. No,
You say March 20th.
March the 20th, 2025. The item is requested by John Wilkerson, Benefits and Retirement. So we're going to accept and approve this one as modified. Should be reading Budget Board scheduled for this Thursday, March the 20th, 2025.
And this is from general fund cash into employee benefits.
Correct.
I move approval of item number 4.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're really running, are we running this slow on funds? Yeah. We're still depositing, oh, that's amazing, and we're all the way to almost, we're to March.
To the end, I
To
know.
the end, yeah. Okay, any other citizen participation, any other questions? If not, I'll move that we adjourn, or I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Boy, what's going on? People not paying? Okay, I'm gonna call this, Board of Equalization special meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, March the 18th, 2025. It's now 9:30 a.m. Roll call, Mr. Brett Town.
Present.
Ms. Teresa Sellers.
Present.
I'm Eleanor Thompson. The notice of this meeting was properly posted on March the 5th, 2025. And we have, I believe, 8 items on the agenda because one item has been stricken. So let me explain to everybody who's here. If you have a copy of the agenda, we will go in order as it is printed. So you guys got a notice of an assessment and your value, and you didn't like it, and so you're appealing. Here's how this works. There's a presumption of correctness of the assessor's valuation. We will change the assessment after you make your presentation if you persuade us that the assessor was incorrect and that you are correct. We will not make a decision today. We make our decisions on Friday of everything that we hear during the week. When I call you, you'll come forward. We will hear from the assessor. Then we will hear from you. No, we will hear from you. Then we will hear from the assessor. And then if you have anything further to add from what the assessor says. And then we will close your case and then move to the next case. Let me say this. I'm not sure if this is going to occur today or tomorrow because we've got our agenda for the week. We deal with fair market value. We do not deal with the tax value. And I know that people think there's a connection between the fair market value and how much tax you pay. And your issue really is how much tax you're paying. There's a fair market value, there's a tax assessed value, and then there's the tax that you pay. So before you come forward, we don't want to hear about the tax because we do not concern ourselves with that. What we concern ourselves with is, did the assessor assess the value of your property as a willing buyer and a willing seller would agree upon? Okay? We will accept whatever evidence that you have, and then we'll make our decision on Friday. Okay. The first item on the agenda is not for you, it's for us. There's the 2024 5-year manufacturer's exemption report. And Mr. Chad is here, and he is the assistant supervisor for personal property in the assessor's office. And we'll hear from him first.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
This is regards, the OTC has asked Letica, one of our 5-year manufacturing exemption companies, to amend their previous XM2 application. And they have, which created remaining assets for their XM2 and a new XM2A. So by doing so, they required a new form that needs to be signed for the clerk.
Okay.
Same for us to complete that application and send it to the OTC, and it won't be done for 20.
Okay.
So what you're asking us to do is to approve the new 5-year manufacturer's exemption as presented today.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so he's presenting from the assessor's office. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Okay. So, we're gonna call the first one is BOE number 4. And the owner is the Dixon Family Trust. Who's gonna present for them? Say your name again?
Brian Dixon.
Oh, you're a Dixon.
Where do you want me to sit?
Right there. Okay, BOE number 4, the address is 1109 Old Ridge Road, Edmond, Oklahoma. This is a residential assessment. The account number is R 126-431-030. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention, the only evidence that we will consider is evidence that you presented to the assessor, because this is an appeal from their decision, unless they agree for us to receive more information. Okay, I'll hear from you.
Oh, okay. I have a summary of what I presented,
Sure.
like that.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Just like here.
Who's this? You assessor?
Yes.
There's a copy for you.
Okay, so the assessor has this at 466,500,
Yes.
and you want us to assess it.
412.
412.
Well,
412. Okay, we'll hear from you.
all right. I received this assessment raising it to 466,500, which is $171.75 a square foot. Last year, they'd raised it to 412 and $151 a foot.
Right.
So I looked at the assessor's page, and that's what's exhibit 2, to see what they were relying on. And those were the comps, the 6 comps that the assessor relied on.
Okay.
And that came to $103. So we did the protest, I did the informal hearing. They told me that the comp side submitted from them were outdated and should not be used, that they had new comps, which I didn't have, and that he'd run it, and that the property actually should have been paid like $471,000. So obviously we're going the wrong direction. So he said he would send me the report denying our application or protest, and then send me the comps. And the second page here, exhibit 1, are the comps that he sent. And those were the actual sale prices. And they averaged, this is all within our neighborhood, $140.15 a square foot. I think it doesn't make sense that the property values around us would be $140 a square foot when they were sold. And these are sales in 2024. Would jump to $171 plus for our property. It was a huge jump. I just don't see it. Common sense tells me it doesn't make sense. And when I look at the figures they got from their own comps, it's not supported, it's not backed up. That's my argument. It's real simple. I'm just looking at what they actually sold the properties for.
Were they all in your neighborhood?
Yes, they were.
So you're not quarreling with what they used, just a conclusion that thank you.
Correct. They're the ones that selected the 6 comps.
But you're using the sales price in your calculations rather than the adjusted value at the bottom of the assessment.
Right, because I have no idea how they came up with the adjusted value. There's no chart, there's no explanation, there's no how they calculated. I don't know. What I do know is what the sales price was last year. I came up with that. And I figured there can't be a whole lot of a change in a space of less than a year. And so just common sense tells me it should still be that. So I figured our property's probably the same as it was in 2024. That's how I came up with it. I don't see a change.
This is the Twin Bridges neighborhood,
No, this is an Old Town neighborhood.
Old Town.
It's across from Kicking Bird,
I live-
Ted's, which still hasn't opened.
Yeah, I live in Fairfield.
The important things.
The important place, it's still closed.
If they're yesterday, the one on the north side.
We've been patiently waiting.
Okay, so your square footage is 2732,
Yes,
And, well, Mike's gonna explain the adjustments. We've heard them in years past, so we kind of understand. the
But
adjustments.
there's nothing on their internet that shows what the adjustments are and how they come to it. That's the problem I got.
Okay, we hear from Mike.
Okay, so yes, the Dixon Family Trust is located at 1109 Old Ridge Road in Edmond, off of East Danforth and North Bryant. We currently have the value at $466,500, and that there was no change during the informal. The Dixons are the original owners of the property. They are requesting a value of $412,000, and they are requesting to be put on for the 2024 value. The 2024 assessor comps, the comps that we ran, which were all 24 sales, we come out at $471,652, and the website comps come in at $464,763. Much for Dixon's case and anyone else who's brought this up, that we try not to use the comps that are on the website. Those are used as a guide to let homeowners, taxpayers know of the activity that's going on in your neighborhood. We don't necessarily use those because sometimes they're going to provide sale. I'm not saying that it's in this case, but in some cases, you're going to have sales that are in 24, 23, and sometimes going back to 22. But what those comps, what those sales are not accounting for, and that the homeowners cannot see, are all the adjustments that are being made to those properties. And our analysis that we use is going to account for every single characteristic that it needs to adjust for to get that property to be just like the subject property. And based on the comps that ran in the appraiser who did the initial informal, we can currently support where the value is at based on the comps that we ran.
Okay, I think that for purposes of everyone here, but particularly Mr. Dixon, you need to explain your adjustments. Just in theory, because he doesn't know how you make the adjustments. For instance, if one of the comps is larger, 3108 square foot, one's.
Well, comp one is 3153 and his square footage is 2732.
Right.
So it's pretty big difference in square footage,
Okay,
400 square feet.
we have two that are lower, three that are lower. So, but explain to him.
So if something is going to be bigger on a property, then we're going to make negative adjustments to get it to where it's just like the homeowner. But if it's smaller, then we'll make positive adjustments to get it to be just like the homeowner. And you can kind of see that right here with all the different adjustments we have for each particular characteristic of every property that we have. Now, for example, we're not going to make any adjustments for the exterior because the exterior and the comps exterior are going to be the same. So we don't do anything there. But like I said, not every single property is going to be the exact same as the subject. That's why we have to go in and make those negative or positive adjustments. And we felt that these were the best ones to use because they required the least amount of adjustments possible. We try to get them to be as low as possible. Sometimes we'll have higher numbers because you're going to have some adjustments up there that are not comparable. We could have some adjustments up there that might have be like 600, 700, 800 square foot larger than the subject. Well, that's obviously going to drive the value up on the subject. That's going to make his go up. We don't want to use those. We want to try to use square footages that are as close to his as possible.
Okay, and effective age, explain the effective age too.
So you're going to have your original year built of a house. And in this case, if some of them are unchanged, you're going to have the effective age. But if a home has been remodeled, then the original year built is still going to be there. But if you're making significant changes to the interior of a home, updated HVAC, plumbing, electric, everything in it is brand new, or some of it is brand new, then the effect of your built on it changes because you're updating the house to the standards of, to the modern standards of today, where it wasn't like that back then. So you're making the home a lot nicer and newer compared to what it was years ago.
Mr. Dixon, do you understand that what he did there for the comps is never gonna be on the assessor's page?
Yeah, if you could just scroll down,
I
Karen, and show them
understand.
where you, the numbers that you use for your comps there at the bottom. Well, at the very bottom of where all those comps are listed, you see those sales adjusted value? Those are the numbers that they're running the average of when they determine.
And I understand that, but there's no publication how they're adjusting it. I mean, what do you use to adjust it? Is it just, if the size is different, is it just a comparative on the difference, the percentage? I don't understand how they get where they're going. Or they're just plucking a number out and putting it in.
There really is no simple explanation to narrow it down. Basically what it is, we're talking about over hundreds of pages of code that go into how these adjustments are
It's a
made.
software application user,
Correct.
right? You're
Yes.
just plugging in the information and it's doing the calculations.
Yes, that's
There's
correct.
some set percentage they're doing per square foot
Right,
difference.
That is correct.
Right?
that is correct.
My concern is, what did we grow in the county as an average, 2.8, 2.9% this year?
I believe it was 4.
4, okay. This is 11.2% increase. And I know some areas are lower and some areas are higher. That's why I've asked for a breakdown of what the growth or non-growth was per zip code, so we can kind of get an idea of batches of groups rather than
The overall.
because the core of Oklahoma City didn't grow what Edmond or Choctaw or other places. Deer Creek grew this year probably.
Correct.
So that's my only first observation is just 11.2.
So do we know what the percentage was for this particular zip code?
They don't have that information now. They'll have to probably write some code and pull that up if they don't have it.
Correct. We don't, yeah,
But I've never seen a document like that.
right. I have not, no, but I'm sure we can request something like that.
Who writes the code?
Well, they have programmers. This is an easy one. This is one that they can put the values increases in per a geofence area and then do an average of it and see. But that's more for us as we look through the whole year of these that we're going to have to look at. This is our first day.
No publication, there's no showing what the rates are.
What I'm asking for is something that's never been produced by them. They do present the county average to us. And just looking at this page, this first day and the day tomorrow that we're going to look at, I just noticed that there is a wide discrepancy in growth this year beyond the average. The average is 4.8. Some areas may grow 12. Some areas may be -4. But it doesn't help us to have an average on this unless we can really be a little bit more specific. That's our dealings.
Carrie, can you tell me what the median was? You scroll down to that page. I didn't pull that.
Well, the assessor comps, our comps that we ran, the median was 471,652, and that's using all 2024 sales. And then the comps that were used on the website, because that was brought up, the median was 464,763.
But that's without the adjustments.
Correct. Well, no, we did actually
So
include
you did
those.
do adjustments on those?
Yeah, we did, yes.
So then with the adjustments, it was 464,000.
Yes, 763.
Think from it?
It's hard for a homeowner to understand this because I don't have all the information. What I did have was what the average sell, or what the sell price was for the property. That's the only figure I could use. It was concrete to draw a comparison, and that's why I used it. And I thought that's as good as I can get. So, I mean, since it went up on our property 13.2% in 1 year, I knew something was wrong. I know it will be in your capable hands. Thank you for your service. Good luck.
Have we met before? Because I may have to review this. I just feel like we have. But I don't know you.
think so.
Okay. Not Rotary Club, nothing like that.
No, Kiwanis.
It's, chamber.
No.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, appreciate it.
sure.
Good
So I'm gonna close BOE number 4 and we'll move to BOE number 5. Michael Bryant. No Michael Bryant? 1801 Calder Road, Newman. Okay, we'll move to item 5, BOE number 7. Is this Derek Sang?
Hello.
Hello. Okay, this is BOE number 007, account number R213 761 210 14224 Southeast 37th Place, Choctaw. I have that the assessor has this valued at $640,000, and you would like to see a valuation of $575,000.
Mhm.
Okay, well, here.
Okay, so this is my third year coming here since we bought this property. You guys have continued to value my property more, and I've contested it every single year. Back in 2022, you guys increased the value 22% because I added a pool. In 2023, it went up almost 14% again, and now we're doing a maximum of 3% in the area. Where and from the comparables that he has, we can talk about them individually, but the property value, fair market value as to what the buyers are currently paying, is decreasing from last year to this year.
Okay.
He has comparable number 1, which is a new development right across the street from us. That one, again, when you build brand new, you come in and roll everything into your closing costs, from the land clearing to the vegetation to everything. That home was also in the street of parables, what do you guys, parade of homes or something
Parade
like
of
that?
homes.
Yes. So the finishes in that home were absolutely beautiful. They're top of the notch. They're for showcase. The other thing that I did also have a question for Mike is, I know you said that the system is coded, but my questioning is, when was the last time that was checked for errors? For instance, the comparables that you have just in the proximity to my property is incorrect. So for instance, the one that comparable number 6, they have at 2.65 miles away. It's actually 5.2 miles away, and you can Google that and it will show that up. Comparable number 3, you have 0.62 miles away, which actually is 1.4 miles away.
Slow down before we say that again.
Sorry.
Sorry, I wasn't on.
Yeah, I'm just saying, for instance, the distance is incorrect where my project, and that's really the only thing that I
Are
can
those
verify.
driving miles?
Correct.
Or is the crow flies?
Uh,
Straight line.
I'm assuming it's driving miles is what Google takes me to. But just something as simple as that, which is 2.65 miles versus 5.2 miles, it's a huge discrepancy. And that's, again, something that I can verify. I'm just wondering if anything else that they currently have code for is also incorrect.
What did you say comp 3 was in the mile? What did you say? What did you show?
That one's 1.4 miles, according to Google. And comp number 6 is 5.2 miles, 5 to 5.2 miles. They give you a range.
But the assessor says it's 2 miles.
2 miles, 2.65 miles.
So, but regardless, are you saying that if it's in fact 5 miles away, that it's not a valid comp?
Oh, I'm just asking, that's again, he said everything's done coded and it's through a computer, so I'm wondering when was the last time you guys had someone look at the code to make sure it was up to date? Because if they can't even get proximity to the subject property correct, I'm just wondering what else is incorrect with the values.
Okay, so what was your valuation last year?
I don't know. I think
It was 632.
yeah, and then we came in and when we met with him informally, it adjusted a little bit. The property comparables that he used were also number 4, number 5 were sold in 2023. I was told that we could only use comparables for the current year of 2024, which is what's being assessed at. Comparable number 2, which is right down the street from me, he has it being sold in 2024. However, I called the listing agent because I found it really odd. It's in my neighborhood. I walk through it every day. It's been listed since last June. This is the report for it. It didn't sell in 2024. It actually sold just last month in 2025. So you can call her if you would like. That's her
Did
name.
it sell, is the difference between selling and closing?
It was over $100,000 difference. It listed originally in June for $640, and it just sold last month at the end of February for $540. So if you get the $540 for what that sold, that's what you guys are assessing. Because the biggest difference is that I put in a pool, which is the 4.8. You guys have it at 4.84, which is 30,976. It brings my value right at 571.
But do you actually, I understand that you appealed last year,
And the year before that.
but you want your property value less?
Correct, is that in my neighborhood, my property values are dropping. And that shows right there in comparable number 2, which is the paperwork that I just handed you. The listing agent thought it was listed at 640, which is very similar to what you guys are assessing my current house for. It didn't sell for 640, it sold for 540. It kept dropping in price. It was on the market for over 222 days.
Which one of
It's
these?
comparable number 2.
No, on here. That's,
That's the, yeah, because
Yes,
according
that's just
to,
comp two.
it's comp 2.
oh, okay.
He shows it closing in November, which I called the listing agent. Again, that's why I printed that out, because it's sold in November and then it's listed a week later, which is super odd. I mean, who would buy a property and lower the price and sell it a week later? And she said it never sold. She doesn't understand why the system's showing up as sold in November. It didn't sell until the end of September of this year, or February of this year. And again, it sold for $100,000 less.
Okay, we're here from the assessor.
Okay, so yeah, we're off of Southeast 44th and South Henny, 14224 Southeast 37th Place in Choctaw, 2,778 square feet. The 2025 value and notice of decision is at $640,000, which puts you at $230.38 a square foot. They're requesting $575,000, which is $206.98 a square foot. And the median comps that we used, $641,443, which puts it at $230.90 a square foot. The owners, the Sangs, 3 comps they provided, 3 of the 4 that were provided, one of them was an invalid multi-parcel sale, so we had to throw that out, and that was 5425 Asheville Way. But the 3 comps that were provided, we ran that analysis, and the 3 comps supported a value of $646,934. The one that you were alluding to, 14025 Southeast 74th Place, we showed that there was a sale in 24 for $578,000. And then now I guess there's a new sale of $540,000.
You're saying that's on comp two?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it didn't sold. You're more than welcome to call the listing agent. She has no idea what it's marked
But
out.
we're gonna bring up the property.
Are these properties on acreages?
Yes.
How much did you say it sold for, Michael?
August of 24 for $578,000.
That's before comps, before adjustments.
Right.
And again, if you were to call the listing agent, which I have provided her number, she doesn't know why that's listed on there. If you look at the MLS will show you that immediately after it sold, it was relisted a week later, or even less than that. What buyer would buy it and then list it a week later for less than what they purchased it for?
We're just going by with what the deed
Right.
that was filed, and that's what we have to go off of.
The deed that was filed. It was never filed. You're just looking at, it was literally never sold. It sold in February of 2025, and it ended up selling for $540,000.
Well, this indicates that if dog stamps are filed, then that is a legit sale.
Well, the listing agent said herself, she's like, it was never sold. It expired and she relisted it at that time, and that's why.
But you do understand that there's a public record, right?
I would like to see it.
Okay.
Do you have the deed for it?
I'm not pointing at the,
Well, I understand, but
hold
the
up,
listing
wait, I
agent,
didn't finish my sentence. I'm not pointing at the computer, I'm pointing down the hall.
oh,
The
okay.
clerk's office down the hall is where you file your deeds and the doc stamps. So if it is showing up that doc stamps were paid, they're entitled to believe that there was a sale. That's what I'm saying. I'm not pointing at the computer. Although that's where they looked and saw it. The doc stamps were right. And you made the calculation on the doc stamps back for the price. No, I don't.
You have a PDF copy of it on here, is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, there it is right there, the general warranty deed.
You're scrolling way too fast. I didn't even get to see where it is.
Where's the location address on there? I'm having a hard time seeing it myself. That was the mailing address that I saw at the top.
And 18 years ago. Give it to be, okay, that's the requirement now. If you're an American citizen.
Yeah, dog stamps were filed, and that's good enough for us to determine that it was a legit sale.
Does it tie back to the R number?
Yes, it does.
Can you show me that? Is that there at the top? Just trying to connect the dots.
The R number's not gonna be listed on.
But the.
But how does it tie to the address then?
Right, we just pulled up the link. That's,
Is it on
It was,
parcel number?
I saw
Was it on this one?
that right there. Is that not?
Oh, yeah, right here.
oh, the legal description, he does.
Okay, so it's tied by the legal
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the listing agent would know that her property sold either. And why someone would buy it and then relist it for less than what they bought it for 7 days later.
But yeah, that's why there's just nothing that we saw or we could do to make any adjustments to the value again this year. Well, for this year at least, and because of the comps that we use, kind of support where the current value is at.
I'm also curious because the comps that you use, you kind of pick up what the highest in the area sold for. There's other homes that have sold for significantly less than that. Some are comparable to mine, but those aren't accounted for. He kind of just throws out and picks whatever sold the highest. And again, out of the 6, 2 of those aren't even from this year.
And if there aren't enough sales, there
are over in Asheville, which you just completely threw that comp away.
because it's an invalid multi-parcel sale. There was another sale or another piece of property that went with it, so we can't.
Well, there's
use
like that development. There's over 100 and some odd homes. He always throws out anything that's sold within there. He just says it's invalid. Now that builder even went valley up. The new builder and they couldn't even sell the homes that they were building on those lots. They ended up having to do a group sale of like 30 something lots for almost $1 million, and they backed out of that development completely. So while I understand that, areas are growing, specifically in my area and in my neighborhood, it's just not happening that way anymore.
Now, Michael, you did say that you ran the adjusted values on the comps that she provided minus the one multi-parcel one, right? Did I hear you say that? And that the adjusted value was $646,934.
Right, that was 646,934, correct?
Using her comps.
Yes.
Do you have an explanation why there was a difference in square footage? Because I did see that your comp 3 was the same as her comp 1, but her square footage was 3359 and yours was 3248.
You say that again, sorry.
So your square footage on your comp 3 showed 3248 square feet.
Correct.
And that was the same as her comp 1, but she showed her square footage at 3359. I don't know if that works in her favor or not, quite frankly. I was just curious as to why there's difference in square footage, because, I mean, I know you guys make adjustments based on that.
And it could be just it could be a rounding issue, because sometimes our square footages are not gonna be maybe the exact same as, a square footage that is listed elsewhere, because a builder is gonna have, they're gonna be exact with their square footages. Like if a wall is 5 feet 6 inches.
Yeah.
We're gonna round up to the nearest whole number.
Where did you pull your comps from?
Or round down to theirs.
We have accessible, which is either realtor.com, Zillow, they all pull from the same website, which would be the MLS. Now, if we're talking about square footing in general, I'm still being assessed at significantly higher than any of the comps that he provided or that I provided. I'm the highest assessed by a long shot. I mean, the stuff that I provided is like at 181 to 215 being the max square feet, and I'm being assessed at 230 per square foot. So even that, I mean, I don't think that my finishings are any better than the parade of homes home, and yet I'm being assessed at a much higher price per square foot than anything else that's being used.
Does the Parade of Homes home have a pool?
No, but the pool is assessed at 4.84 according to him, and so it's about $31,000, $30,976 is what they're assessing my pool for.
So on a house that's just a little less than 3,000 square feet, that would be $10 or $11 a square foot more value.
I would add that $31,000 on top of whatever he said.
Did we clear up the discrepancy on the mileage,
No.
on the comps that you hear?
You know, I don't, you all tell us, I've got a theory too.
Now, I don't, because I never had this question before asked. It could be that I don't know if it's based on driver miles or if it's based on going from the subject property using a straight line, going to the comp.
Right.
So it could be, I don't have that information in front of
So if you're assessing in a neighborhood, Mike, and I've got this street here and I've got a house, I've got a street over here and I've got a house that backs up to it, to get from one house to the other, I have to drive about a block and a half, even though they're touching each other.
Correct.
So we're either going by one or the other. Which one would it be in your all's estimation?
I would assume, and I guess that's a very strong word to use, I would assume by drawing a line from the property going to the comparable and not going in. But again, I don't have
Just
that.
an answer. We've never had that brought up in 3 years, so I'm be interested to hear what you all have to say later on.
Yeah, I'll have to mention that.
Okay. Final word?
Well, I mean, I think that at some point, the value is going to have to catch up with what I get. And I think that you guys had a work tax rate starting in 2022, 22% hike in 1 year. When in 2023, 14% hike. And now you did the maximum at 3%, with the comparable showing that my neighborhood just isn't selling at what it used to be. The market just for my, it's not there. And the homes, if you looked at the comp, even comp 6 that he used, and the comp that was the my number 4, if you are living on a parcel that's not in a neighborhood, those are the only ones that seem to be going for what the fair market value is. It'll show because the date that it's listed versus the date that it's sold, it's only like 2 months. But the ones that are in the neighborhoods are the ones that are being affected the most. And those are staying on the market for 5, 6, 8 months longer. So
using your argument, then which comps do you think are good? Are any of the comps that were provided either by the assessor or you good
well,
comps?
2 of the comps that were provided by the assessors weren't even in 2024.
I'm just saying,
So,
I agree there were two 2023,
yeah.
so you would kick those out.
And then the one that I told you is comp number 2, that one also from the listing agent, she said she didn't sell that property. So, and from when it actually sold and the sign was taken off of our neighborhood was just the end of February of this year. So I would throw that one out too.
You're saying you don't like any of the assessor's comps? 'Cause comp
No,
one
we
was-
used the same comp on comparable 1, comparable 3, and comparable 4. Oh,
I don't want to debate you. I want you to explain to me why you want to ignore a public filing in the clerk's office.
because that sign never came off, and logically it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm gonna go look at public records to find out what's going on, because the listing agent says she didn't sell that house. She said the listing expired, and maybe that's why the clerical error was done to show why it was sold. I wouldn't buy a house and then list it for less 7 days later, which is what the listing shows on the MLS. If you look at it, it's sold, or according to them, it's sold, and then someone relisted it 7 days later for less than what it sold for. That, even if it was an investor, it just doesn't make sense. Why would anybody do that?
Okay, we will make our decision on Friday and the mail gets to you Monday, Tuesday. You notice of our decision.
Thank you.
I'm gonna close BOE number 7 and move to BOE number 8. Camilla and David Strong.
Australia.
I don't have a last name. This is a trust.
Australia. How are you?
See, so are you the owner or the trustee?
I'm both.
You both are.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, this is account number R1697090001709 West Wilshire Boulevard, Nichols Hills. And the assessor had the valuation at $2,690,000, and you would like for us to set the value at $1,508,500. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Based upon Oklahoma Constitution, I believe the assessed value of the house based upon capital repairs, which I had a long confrontational conversation with the assessor's office. The house is almost 100 years old.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the city of Nichols Hills wants to keep houses in the same look and feel of the neighborhood. And unfortunately, that becomes expensive. We were assessed for a deck that we added about 8 years ago. That deck completely fell off the building. They assessed us $400,000 10 years ago for that. And that had to be completely replaced. We added a bedroom on the east side of the house. The master bedroom was upstairs, so we added one downstairs. That was the only square footage that we added, and significant, I guess, change that we made to the structure. On the west side of the house, we had a detached garage, 3-car garage, with an apartment that we demolished, and we moved it to be an attached garage.
Okay.
And so we actually lost square footage. We had a full bathroom in the apartment upstairs, and when we demoed that for safety and security reasons, we rebuilt it adjacent to the house. And so
The
apartment was never rebuilt, just a garage. So we actually lost square footage. If you go back to the
you
assessment,
just have a breezeway that attaches?
yes, ma'am. Nice apartment, little den area above the garage, but that does not exist anymore. That entire structure on the west side. And so if you look at the house on the pictures that the assessor's office has over the years, it still looks the exact same from the street because we're basically on the same footing. But we moved the garage to where it was attached to the kitchen, and it's still on the west side, but moves kind of to the north. Basically makes the house into a U shape. But other than the bedroom, which was added square footage, less the apartment that we lost, everything else was capital repairs. When we added the new roof line to the bedroom, the contractor comes back and goes, "Well, you have a 10-year roof that was done in 08. What do you want to do?" So we replaced the entire roof as part of the capital cost. We replaced all the air conditioners, and you could argue that those enhancements might have increased the value. We replaced all the windows. The windows from the hailstorm in 08 were installed incorrectly, and so for a house that looks the exact same that would claim the same market value, there was a lot of capital repairs, water damage from leaks on the roof. That is the original house less the garage where we demoed. And the house still looks like that today, and it's still the exact same house. The upstairs is essentially is vacant. We moved out of our bedroom upstairs to the new bedroom downstairs. And they increased the taxes by of the house by $1.5 million, 171%.
What was the square footage of the bedroom that you?
The assessor is claiming 1,000 square feet. It does include a bath. I don't think it's that large. In the conversation with the assessor's office, they claimed that they sent out somebody to look at the property and they were denied access. And I was like, okay, it was a construction site. So who did you talk to? Well, we don't know. I was like, so if you're Jake Leg, talk to one of our Jake Legs. How do you know? And they were completely dismissive. They never sent us notice of the tax increase on the value. And when I say the value is now one of the highest in Oklahoma County, I was shocked when my tax bill more than doubled, 18,000 to 42,000.
When did you add that?
During COVID, it took a while because of materials and just delays associated with COVID.
Okay, what was your value last year?
The original value was market or taxable value was or market value
2,586,500.
versus the last time it was assessed was 1,508,000.
Okay, I think we're talking about two different rates here. If your fair market value from the assessor last year was 2,586,000.
They moved it from 1,508.
In 22.
I don't know what this 23 number is.
I don't either. I thought that was odd, 247.
I'll explain that in a minute.
What they claimed is because nobody was living there, and we had full utilities and we were there every day. But for the amount of dust we were drawing up on this project, we moved to another house in Nichols Hills from this period. And they reassessed it basically as a vacant property in 23.
So did you say that you have an appraisal?
No, ma'am. I've been in this house since 2004. I paid $810,000 for the house. And so this would be my number one investment if I take the assessor's number.
You moved in what year?
In 2004.
Oh, 04.
Yeah.
That's been 21 years.
And again, since 04, this is
But let me just ask you, last year the valuation was 2,586,500. Did you appeal?
I never got notice on that. I got the bill for that out of the blue when the tax bills were issued in November. They never sent an assessment. They never sent a letter. They claim that that's when the assessor's office came out to the house and we did not.
What was your net square foot loss with the tearing down and the construction?
So the garage is a wash. It's a little larger. Just 'cause those old houses were designed for car sales. Sure. So, but the upstairs apartment was probably 550 square feet. My master bedroom is about that size. You could add on the bathroom, so the net increase in square footage. I would say probably 500 square feet.
Okay, plus 500.
Yeah. Now, Oklahoma Constitution, Article 10, Section 8B addresses improvements and adjustment for damaged properties. And so I believe that the assessed value increase was outside of the realm that the Constitution.
What was damage was done to your property?
Well, the entire rear deck, which I was assessed $400,000 10 years ago, had to be.
No, we're not going to deal with what happened to you 10 years ago.
No, but they assessed me for this. They assessed this as an improvement, and that entire deck had to be ripped off the building.
So what's the disaster? What is that?
It's repairs to the house. The Constitution talks about
Wait a
repair,
minute.
water
We're
repairs.
talking about the difference between 2023 and 2024. And you don't have that issue during that time period, right?
No, ma'am, because the assessor assessed it as property value only during 23, and 22 was the normal number of the house of 1.08, and that had essentially been the same increased value, the maximum increase over the years from the 810 that I paid. So they took a jump of $1 million between tax years.
Did you appeal that?
I never got notice of it. The only notice I got that I appealed.
Never?
No, ma'am. The only notice that I appealed was when I got the market value of the 2.586. I appealed it immediately before I even paid the bill.
Okay.
Last year.
Yes, ma'am. That's for 24. Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't come before us last year. You just appealed with the assessor's office.
No, nobody appeals when they get a bill for $287,000.
Let's hear from Mike.
Sure.
Okay, we are off of Northwest Wilshire in North Pennsylvania. They have owned the property, as it's already been talked about, since 2006, and it was purchased for $810,000. We are currently at 7,034 square feet. The 2025 value and notice of decision, 2,690,000, which puts it at $382.43 a square foot. The informal appeal, the requesting amount was 1.9 million, which would put it at $270.12 a square feet. The new request is now for the board is 1,508,500, which puts it at $214.46 a square foot. The current request is based on what the value was prior to the home being under construction back in 22. The 2022 value is 1,508,500. In 23, that's when we visited the property, and we were told by the contractor that we couldn't take pictures or do any measurements to the property. That was according to the appraiser who was out there. But we decided to put it on for salvage value because the entire house, according to the appraiser, was gutted. So if it's gutted, you go on for $5 a square foot plus whatever the land value is. And that's why the 23 value is $247,084. And then in 24, we have the value at 2,586,500. And that's based on the completed remodel and the square footage add-ons. The 2021 add-on permit, which is what has been accounted for in the increase in square footage, was a $1 million permit. Altogether, 2,840 square feet was for the add-on, and that automatically puts you at a 40% remodel in our office. We have it at a 75% remodel because you got new plumbing, new electric, pretty much newer everything, so that we put it on the max remodel possible, not just because of the add-ons, but because of everything else that went inside of it. The property wasn't appealed last year, but we did send a notice of value increase last year, March 1st of 24. And it is noted in our site that we did send it. And as far as the what was alluded to earlier about the balcony and the pool and all that, the decking, that was accounted for back in 2013. But based on the comps and what the appraiser did at the moment, it was based on the fact that the comps plus the
Permit.
the permit value is why we currently support the value where it's at right now.
Okay, I only have one last question.
Yes, ma'am.
You're discussing the add-on of the bedroom, but you said nothing of the remodel.
The house was not gutted. 90% of the house was untouched, with the exception of any damage that they did with dust, water. There was some damage cleanup that they did to the main living room and dining room area. But the house was never gutted, never taken to the studs. I explained that to the assessor's office, and they kept going back to, well, we like our appraiser. I was like, well, who did your appraiser talk to? Because the contractor has no record of
You made is your statement to us that you made no improvements to that house?
That is not correct.
Okay.
What I'm saying is we added a bedroom and an adjacent hallway to make it architecturally flow. But the main house, the dining room, the den, the living room, the 4 bedrooms upstairs, along with the 4 bathrooms, were completely untouched. The basement was completely untouched during this time. So literally from a square footage
No
perspective,
windows, no air conditioning, no.
100% of the exterior windows were changed out in this
And the
process. And 100% of the roof was changed. The deck was rebuilt. It was taken completely off the building. The pool was completely given a facelift during this process. And again, to the assessor's defense, it was an extensive project, but 90% of the house, unless we did damage, was untouched. Original wiring from the last remodel. The plumbing was completely changed out in 2011, and we were assessed on that.
Okay.
We had to change the main from the meter throughout the entire house to the sewer. And so, I mean, again, the house is unfortunately, it's 100 years old. And so, I mean, we're all getting older, so it takes a lot. But I'm arguing we did not we did not gain $1 million worth of value, and that's why I'm saying it's a violation of the Constitution.
I do want to mention that we do have a note up here from the owners they sent back to us of all that was going to take place. All new HVAC, electrical, plumbing, new garage, new and currently remodeling kitchen. Previous notes mention a big add-on and need to remeasure the house, put on for a 75% remodel when completed. But yeah, we sent out, sometimes if we don't go out to the properties, what we'll do is we'll send out letters in the mail for homeowners to respond to let them know or let us know what's going on.
And like I said, mechanical was replaced.
And then just to give you a heads this is new square footage right here as in 22, and all of this right here is brand new as of 2022.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the stuff on the east side, that's the attachment to the garage that was moved. And again, my argument on that is we just excuse me, thank you, on the west side, we moved the garage literally to face north.
Oh,
And again, it's now attached. So there's a mudroom that was added to help the flood.
okay.
But the garage is not air conditioned, so I mean, and again, we had a 3-car garage before.
Okay. Do you have any more questions? No. Okay, we're good. Okay.
Okay.
We may have a decision on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time.
We're gonna close BOE number 8 and open BOE number 9. James Marks, 21830 Southeast 44th New Orleans. This is residential account number R267243-065. Mr. Marks. I have that the assessor has made the valuation decision of $162,000, and you would like $141,000. I have that you have an appraisal in 24, and the house next door burned down, and you think that should make a difference in the valuation of your house. Let me first ask you, what was your valuation in 2024?
141.
No, it's 173, the assessor's evaluation.
Oh, the valuation according to the assessor?
Yeah, it's 173,000.
Okay, we'll hear from you.
I think it's pretty simple. September of 24, we got the property appraised because I was looking to refinance it.
Okay.
The appraised value was $141,000.
It was in September.
Yeah, 6 months ago.
Sure.
And then on New Year's Eve, the house next door burned down. Whether that should lower the value or not is, I guess, up for debate. But I think there's an argument to be made there. But I think at the very least, in 6 months' time, it wouldn't have went up. With that in consideration, I'm a little bit nervous, but the 141 I thought was a fair valuation, and the biggest difference that I had between my valuation and the assessors was the age of the property and the adjustments that were made. So if you want to take a look at that, most of the adjustments were some of the adjustments that the assessors was using had over a 20% difference. And this property, on the county assessor's page, it says it was built in 2006.
Okay.
But on the MLS information that was put on, it says it was moved to the property in 2006. And so that was the reason that we didn't find a middle ground that we were happy with when it came to valuation. And when I actually talked to the appraiser after I got this notice from the city, and I said there was a big difference, and they're making a big adjustment for the age, and you didn't. What gives? And he said, well, and the appraiser's response was, I didn't make an adjustment for age because on the MLS it said that the property was moved to the site in 2006. That information is not verified in the county assessor's information. But he also said that when this was a full appraisal and he visited the property, and he said that when he visited the property and obviously took his pictures and did all this stuff, that he felt like that information was correct based upon his assessment. So he didn't feel like the other 2006 build houses were really a good comparison to this one, and that's why the appraiser didn't make the adjustment, but the county assessor did. And
This was
That's it.
a used house that was picked up and moved and transplanted to this site. Is that what you mean? Relocated?
that's what I was told from the listing agent. We found that information out directly from the person died, and it was the person who was responsible for the property.
What would you set the year of the construction of the house at? Or the age of the house?
I mean, it's speculative, but based upon the other properties, just the way it looks and the way it I would say probably a 1970s or 80s build. I don't know if you can pull up the first page on the assessors. That's what it looked like when I bought it, and I did put about 70 grand into it to get it fixed up. So it looks like a remodeled house now, and but it doesn't look like a house that matches what you would expect of a 2006 build. So, I mean, that's my argument. That's what I got.
Okay, let's hear from Mike.
Okay, yes, the nearest town is, if you call it a town anymore, New Walla. We're off of Southeast 44th and South Potawatomi, so really close to the county line. The 2025 value was $182,500, which puts it at $217.26 a square feet. We came up with a value on the notice of decision for $162,000 for $192.86 a square foot. We have it at 840 square feet. We do have it as an official year built of 2006 because that's the record we have of when this house was moved to the property. Typically, if we can find information, so there's going to be instances out there where we have move on homes to another location. We'll have information of when it was built, but if we can't find any kind of information at all prior to where it came from, then we're going to automatically assume it's 2006 because that's the first recollection we've got of this house.
Okay.
It was he is requesting a value of $141,000, which is $167.86 a square feet. The 141 was also the value of the property in 2022. The purchase of the property was for $35,000, which was invalid. It was invalid, obviously, because it was a distress sale and it was well undervalued. But we obviously know why, because the home was not in good condition. According to the appraiser, most of the owner's comps were outside the county, so we couldn't use those. But if we did use them, those would support the current value we have. Last year's value was $173,000. In 23, it was $155,000. And then, like I said, in 22, it was $141,000, which is the current requesting value. Other than the information provided and then what the comps said, we currently can support the 162. So actually,
So you're saying the comps that they provided with the appraisal with your adjusted values that supports the 162? Is that what I'm hearing?
the comps that we did,
The comps that you did?
Yes.
Did you look at the comps that were provided on the appraisal?
yes, according to the appraiser, those comps were outside of Oklahoma County. Because he's located right off of Potawatomi, and Potawatomi is is county line on the east side of Oklahoma County. So
Can he use Potawatomi County comps?
that's my understanding. Yes.
Okay, but did I hear you put a little sidebar in there that said even if I did count them?
That's according to what the appraiser who did the appeal. He said that even if the comps that were used in the appraisal would support a higher.
Still support the higher value.
Yes.
The comps, can you,
Is that because their adjustments are different than your adjustments in the 2006 discrepancy too, though, you know?
That's my assumption. That's what I'm assuming, yes. But I don't have that information in front of me. I just know that I'm just reading the information that the notes were provided from the appraiser who did it. So, but I just know that our comps did support the lower, and that's why we did lower it.
So last year in 24, it was 173. This year, you're setting it at 162.
Correct. So we're actually going down from what it was last year.
What about the premise about the house next door? Can that be considered in your valuation?
No, not really. It's not. I mean, that's almost like saying should you reduce the value of a property in Nichols Hills just because a property was, torn down or burnt down right next to it. I don't think the value would necessarily go down because of that. In this case, I don't think a property that's burned down or torn down for any of that measure should have any effect on that value unless the subject property had some damage to go along with it. But if it's also a remodeled house too. So
What was the 23 value?
155,000.
Karen, can you pull up those remodel pics? I think I saw those.
Oh. Click on the left. There you go.
and when we pull those up, if I can just make a note that, take into consideration if it looks like what you would expect to see of a property that was built in 2006. As far as the cabinetry and all of the other finishings. That's a picture of the sitting on the deck looking over next door.
And we're not even, by the way, we're not even accounting for the home being remodeled.
Except for the fact that you have an original purchase price, it might have been invalid. And then after remodel,
Stop right there
you had it.
for a minute.
Right.
It does look almost like a mobile home.
It's not a mobile home. I mean, that would be on the assessor's page, but it is, the county assessor's information and mine differ. I'm leaning on what the appraiser told me and his rationale, and that's different from what the information that the assessors have been using. But I think these pictures kind of tell the story about the reason I'm here. I think it's reasonable, but that'll be for you guys to decide.
When did you buy the house?
Less than a year ago. And you saw the picture of what it looked like. You can see it on the far end.
Okay. We'll make our decision on Friday. You'll be notified.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna close BOE number 9 and open BOE 10. Kristen Avens, that's not here. Kristen Avens not here. Okay, that's the second one. Okay, so we'll go to BOE. Last item on the agenda. Number 11, Riza. Pronounce your last name. No. Okay. 3725 Glastonbury Way, New Walla. Residential account number R2178810 30. I have that the assessor has it valued at 419,500.
No, 98.
I'm the wrong one, I got the one skipped. Okay, so 948,000, and I've got down to 920,000. And I guess that'd be informal. And you would like a valuation between 800 to $850,000,
Yes,
somewhere in.
somewhere, or maybe look, I can try the 760, talk to them. Now I said, I'm going here. I put these numbers, but still you see my argument. I do have everything that I presented, just summarized it in a format that I can probably better discuss that. So address my concerns or reviews more clearly. So I'm glad to hear all the discussions about fair market value and the comp that they did. When I met them, unofficially, it was not that, hey, we used it, and that was my main argument about, like, how do we do the assessment? I would like this to be fair market value. It would be an assessor, as the name indicates, or the assessor officer. You would do the assessment, not just copy pasting what I paid for the property and say, because you paid $949, that's the value. So what happened is, maybe I was misled, misguided, when I purchased the property in November, I went through this parade of homes, saw the property, talked to the builder, didn't have a realtor on my end. The family fell in love with the house, they liked it, it was right before Thanksgiving. I said, let's make a deal. We did it so quick. You see that it was like, usually go with 30 days, we did it like 2 weeks to move before Thanksgiving. So we did all this, and part of my discussion with the builder was, because the home was a couple of months and we had another one, we said, okay, I like the home, but at the same time, the value you put, and you see that in the documents I presented, they advertised in July for 900,000, 899. And then they increased it to 50,000, even though you don't have a customer, they increased it 50,000 even more to 950. So 949 is like, yes, because now we are offering, we pay like concessions for, the rates are 7%, we buy down your rates to the 3.2 as part of a 4.21 program. So we gotta give you that 50 toward that, so that's the reason they increased. Okay, fine, I know I want that, I know I want the fence, I know I want blinds, I know a bunch of things that
So
we
you're
can put.
owner, you're the first owner.
As a first owner, yes, so it's a new construction, but not a custom build for me to say that's what you're. So I said, let's do some concessions. I'm gonna go with that, but at the same time, you put so many other things that brings the value to around that 850 or so. You are happy with that, I'm happy, maybe this, and I was naive. I didn't know if I go with that, it would be considered like, that's what you paid, 950, so that's worth this much. So I really tried to make myself comfortable with financing and get that deed. To me was like, hey, I'm coming down to what makes sense for the rest of neighborhood and the selling price. But you didn't know I put myself into the tax office that said, because it's 950 sold, that's the value. What I did here in that summary page, if you look, I did the comparison, right? And I had listed my neighborhood and every single house in this one. Not the three in blue is really the one that is a recent sale. I purchased in November, and the other homes before me was sold in like in September and October. So the two recent ones before me was sold, and it is valued the same at about $212 per square foot, and then the other one is 188. This neighborhood, the homes, it's a gated neighborhood. The homes are exact same feel and look and the same quality if you look. They are all 22, 23, 24, 25, and it's a new construction neighborhood.
Okay.
So what I realized is
that on an acreage or just a regular?
it's an acreage. I think it's an acreage. Don't remember exactly plus or minus, but I think it's acreage.
Okay.
So what I realized is our friends in the county assessor team have assessed every single home, even though they are a little bit different in this worksheet. You see all those that they have assessed. It's not necessarily a market value, but even I know their assessment is off of market value. Every house that has been assessed is 222, 214, 172. So all the yellow one you see in these boxes, they come to an average, like 9 properties coming to an average of 204.
All in this neighborhood?
All in this neighborhood,
Okay.
exactly in this circle, one neighborhood. So all the yellow comes to an average of 204. So if I put my property at the average of 9 other homes in the same next to me, it's gonna be valued 659. Let's see, there are 3 houses that are higher than that 220 range.
659,000.
So that's what math is. Don't worry about that for a second. Now, if I go with the next thing, adding 2 other homes, that is 298, mine, and 321 and others, it comes to 223 average price. So I was coming back and say, look, if the assessment is done based on fair market, based on your assumptions, based on the comps, based on everything that's happening in this neighborhood, mine valued at 298 is way above 220 or 230 of the neighborhood or your comp. So how come mine should be the smallest home, but priced at the highest possible versus 12 other homes are that 225 range? So how we would consider this adjustment to say, let's be, and all the argument that there is about like, hey, here's the comp, here's the market.
So let me get the timeline. You bought the house in November of this year,
November of 2020,
and you paid
948, 949.
the assessor is setting a value at 920.
Exactly.
Is that good
Well,
at this time?
at this term, yes.
920.
So one of the sort of rules of thumb we have is the sale of your home establishes the market on it. Even if you overpay, we heard this in COVID all the time. I know I overpaid $100,000 for this home, but I had to have it. It was the only thing available. I really liked that. My wife really liked that home, so I bought it. I know I overpaid $200,000 for it, but now can I have it for $200,000 less on the value? When you buy your home, it establishes, especially in a short term, 2-month period, it establishes the value of your house, the fair market value of your house. In my mind, it's hard for me to say now that house is not worth 940 or thereabouts, up and down a little. It certainly can't be in the 6s or 7s, or I would have some trouble even putting it in the 8s.
Why did you guys drop it to 920?
Well, let's let the assessor go ahead, because you haven't gone yet, have you?
No, but I mean,
Go ahead.
okay, so we're at 3275 Glastonbury Way. We have it at 33,232 square feet. Purchased November of 24 for $949. Purchased it at $293.63 a square foot. We're located off Southeast 29th and Peebly, just to the west of the Kickapoo Turnpike. The initial request was $760,000, which would be $235.15 a square foot. The new request is anywhere between $800 to $850, which would be $247.52 to $263. We did lower the value some, $28,000 worth to $920. $284.65 a square foot. One of the biggest emphasis for this appeal was about the interest buy-down points and market concessions. And we, in the years that my superiors have been in this office, they've never had an instance like this come up before. And so we had to do some research on this to see if that would be a legit reason for something to help the value out. According to our market value analysis, our definition of market value that's listed on our website, the price represents the normal consideration for the property sold, unaffected by special or creative financing or sales concessions granted by anyone associated with the sale. So we don't consider that when it comes to establishing a value for a property. And one of the biggest indicators is, and he's alluded to this, that the homes in the neighborhood do support values that are lower. But he's the one that did knowingly make that purchase of the, he did establish the fair market value, what he paid for it.
So in other words, what he's doing is paying a lower interest rate, but his offset would be, and I know we don't talk about it, higher taxes, higher valuation and taxes.
Right. But we can't find anything to support his reasoning for lowering the value more, other than what we just did at lowering it to 920. But
So did you run the comps that he provided?
We did. Now, I don't know if we have the comps listed on here or not, but I know we did look at the comps. The comps do support lowering his value. But because of what he purchased it for, there's nothing that we can do.
Right. Well, his comp brings the value up.
Right.
His
Yes.
now gets added to the comp pool.
Right, which then will, drive some of the others in the neighborhood up eventually. But yeah, there's just really not much we can do based on what was purchased. And Mr. Northbosch and I have talked, and he's talked to my superiors that he, probably should have, been more aware of what he was doing when he, initially purchased the property. But he knowingly did make that purchase. And
But when you came up with the 920, that was using his comps with your adjusted values?
well, we just went ahead and lowered it just because.
You just agreed that the other properties in the neighborhood were
Right, but yeah, that's why we did decide to lower it some, but obviously not to what he's wanting.
I think what was lowered was mainly because, as I mentioned, some concessions, like for example, the blinds, the fence, the electric outlet, bunch of other things we added to this one, which technically I provided, and they said because of these values, we would reduce it. So that was like 30,000 just because of extra things that. And because I wanted again to close quickly before Thanksgiving.
I'm not understanding,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
kind of
not
lost.
confused about this part.
Okay, so you what interest rate did you get?
It was 7, but this year I'm gonna pay 4%, next year 5, then 6, and then I go back to 7. So it's gonna be like a temporary 3, 4, 5, 6 until the fourth year I go back to the 7%. So
And
it's
tell me
temporary.
again why it was you said to the builder added the 50, because when you guys.
Yes, because they were thinking there is no sales, they cannot do. In this market, there is no buyers. So how do we incentivize, how do we promote the buyers to come in and say, don't worry about the 7%, which turns you off from buying a home at this market. Come in, we would make it like 4% this year, so it's appealing to you 5 next, and very likely in 4 years.
Are they financing it for you?
They do that, they paid us part of that,
Okay.
right? So in essence, and another point to mention, when we looked into this one of the arguments from assessors was that the builder requested 850,000, assuming that this construction worth 80 is going to be 850. So they filed a loan, and I provided the document. Said they didn't, and the closing cost 713 went in there. So very likely buyer, even their assumption was it's 950, it worth it because see 850 they already filed for construction cost. And they said no, because 713 based on the closing went to the buyer. That means even they realized they cannot spend that much. Maybe their goal was 850. Maybe they wanted to have a home. And gradually they started to say, no, we got to go lower. And I provided support like the shingles on the roof cost 11,000 for that 3,000 square foot because they lowered, they just compromised other things to make it lower and profitable for themselves. So later on, I realized after I closed, but I shared those to say this home was not really costed 850 for them as they filed. It didn't cost them that much. And so I was naive, did that. But it doesn't mean to be penalized really. And all along, I feel like the arguments for all the cases was, what's the fair market? What's the comp? And in this case, all the comps goes to that 200, which I'm not, in my case, is all comps are ignored and say, only evidence is you paid for that. 20 other comps is ignored because of I paid 950.
Okay.
I think it's on.
So, and the assessor says, we've not dealt with the buy down situation, and we're not gonna. Okay, I just need to. Okay, I think I've heard enough. You got more questions? Okay, we thank you for coming in, and we'll make our decision on Friday, and then, we'll notify you by then.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your consideration too. I understood your presentation. Okay. Okay, now what did we do, guys, about the 2 people who didn't show up? Did you get did you get a call from anybody? Okay, what is it?
I think we've always given them one other chance.
One other chance. Okay, now before we close on tomorrow, we come tomorrow and do 12. Okay, Mr. that's kind of like at our high point here for people who are not related by buyer, like those guys that batch buy 300 and pile in here. We'll go up a high number. These, now we did an hour and a half, and basically only did, how many, 6? So 12 tomorrow.
So what you're saying is we'll give it a try.
If this is gonna push us in here for 3 hours, we're gonna lower our number that we set for any one day. Okay. Cause, with those 2 not showing up, then there'll be 18 for us to go through and decide on Friday. Not that we can't do that many on Friday if we're doing fewer Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is. I know this may not be a valid consideration for you, but we don't come in here cold and just hear stuff the first time. So we actually spend the evening or an afternoon going through everything to get an idea, particularly going through the comps and stuff. So 12 is gonna kind of be pushing it for us, but we'll see how well it goes, how contentious it is. Did you get any indication from those people that they were not gonna show up? Okay.
And have we heard anything from Ryan yet?
So the first round, or for to the board, or I don't know how many are coming to the board. We did do the first set of stuff, and we sent that back. We actually did not get anything from them in the second round. So
What does that mean?
based on that information, the only stuff that can actually come to the board is from the first round.
Okay.
Unless we get something in the mail in the next couple of days that it was timed, or that it was stamped with the date in between the 30 days.
So how many?
I don't know. The first set, 150.
Well, that's not.
When I
It's the
did,
same person.
it is a different person who's doing the appeals. I have no idea if they are different for when they come.
There was some talk earlier that this was going to be a hard year because of something that changed, either in the way that you all assessed or something in the law. Did I just mishear that from somebody? Does it look like we're on a normal trend with the numbers?
They look lower.
With values as a whole?
No, the number of cases.
Oh. I don't.
So it looks like a normal trend.
I would say yes, because we've done a lot. In my opinion, I feel like we've done a lot more formals this year, especially at this time period. But we also, things were sent earlier and closer. So we only had 2 weeks in between the first and second round. Last year was a month. So instead of it being spread out, it's been more all at once. So that could be part of why.
Are you talking only residential?
Yes, commercial just went out Friday.
Yeah, see, the round 2 deadline for residential
Okay.
was yesterday
Oh.
with the deadline, and then, like you just alluded to, Friday, March 14th is when the first set of commercial values went out.
Okay. And personal goes out later.
That's my assumption, yeah, because I know they were still receiving itemized papers in the mail for them to enter in, so that's why I think they're going to be going out later. Yes.
And you all will check with your computer person on
Yes. I've got
if we can go
Zip code by zip code of
zip
right
code by
now.
zip code within the county.
You're talking about what the average has gone up for each zip code.
Within
The
that zip code.
percentage. Okay. Yes, we'll do that for you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
There was another question that you had. What was it? Oh, the distance. I'll ask about that.
Yeah.
We'll ask about that because again, like you said, I've never even been asked that, so I don't even know how to answer that. Like the distance from the parcel.
I don't know we're on the record, but Google is not gone. They make some mistakes too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So And we're set for next week as well. Do you know how many we do each time?
10.
10. Okay.
And you know I won't be here
10
next
to
week.
12.
Yeah, won't be here
I'll
next
look
week.
at it and let you know.
None going on.
At all. Okay, the other thing is this, I'm an election inspector, so never said any on election day, so that's April 1st. Okay, if there's nothing more, I'll entertain a motion for the adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Like you consider doing a roll call vote. I think that may be one aspect of it.